Ladies and gentlemen, so now we need to move on to our last lecture for Chapter 1. This is going to include the language of anatomy. How do we talk to each other? All right. The first thing that we need to talk about is anatomical position. Now, anatomical position is a position in which the body is erect, the palms are facing forward, and the thumbs point away from the body out toward the lateral side of the body. Now, in anatomical position, right and left refer to the right and left sides of the person viewed. Please remember that. In anatomy, anatomical position is always assumed regardless of the actual position of the body. And directional terms, which is what we're going to be talking about, are used to explain exactly where one body part is in relationship to another. So, first of all, we're going to look at these regional anatomy terms. Right? There are two fundamental divisions of the body. The axial region, which includes the head, the neck, and the trunk, and the appendicular region, which consists of the upper and the lower limbs. Now, regional terms designate specific areas within the axial and appendicular divisions. Here we have the front part of the body, or the anterior, and here is the posterior. Next up, here are these directional terms, and you need to study these and be ready to understand where is one body region or part in relationship to another. Okay, is it superior or inferior? Is it ventral or dorsal? Is it, oh goodness gracious, there are all these terms. So make sure that you're studying those, make sure that you're being ready. Okay, now, we have body planes and sections. Body planes are flat surfaces that lie at right angles to each other. We have a sagittal plane, which is a vertical plane that separates the body into the right and left-hand parts. Now, we have a median or a mid-sagittal plane, lies exactly along the body's midline. So basically it's cutting it into equal left and right-hand parts. We have a parasagittal plane, which lies offset from the midline. A frontal plane is a vertical plane that separates the body into anterior and posterior parts. And then we have a transverse or horizontal plane, which is a plane that runs horizontally from right to left and divides the body into superior and inferior parts. Simple enough, right? Okay, so let's take a look at what they look like. Next, we're going to move on to the body cavities. Now, body cavities are spaces within the body that are closed to the outside, and it contains our internal organs. The dorsal body cavity is a space that houses the central nervous system and has two subdivisions, and that is the cranial and the vertebral. The cranial cavity is within the skull, cranial, duh, all right? And the vertebral or spinal cavity is within the vertebral column and houses the spinal cord. Oh, maybe that's why it's called vertebral or spinal cavity. Duh. Again. Hey. All right. Now, the ventral body cavity is anterior to, and it's larger than the dorsal body cavity. And the ventral cavity that is further subdivided into a lateral pleural cavities that surround the lungs. And the thoracic cavity also contains something called the mediastinum, which includes the pericardial cavity surrounding the heart and the space surrounding the other thoracic structures. Okay. Now, the ventral body cavity houses the body organs, or something we call viscera. Now, we can further divide the body into certain abdominal pelvic regions, or quadrants. There are 9 abdominal pelvic regions used primarily by anatomists, and there are 4 quadrants used primarily by medical professions. And here are what we're going to be looking at. Here are the 9. Okay. Now, we want to make sure that you understand what organs are found within each of these quadrants. So make sure that you know this right here. what organs are found in what certain quadrants of the body. Now, we have other body cavities. We have an oral and digestive cavity. We have the nasal cavity. We have the orbital cavity. We have the middle ear cavity. We have synovial cavities. And we'll talk about those and get more into detail as we move along. So, what are the key points here? The main key points is understanding the regional anatomy terms. What are the directional terms as they apply to anatomy? How do we know in what part and what region is one anatomy part connected to the other? How do we use the body planes and section terms? And what are the body cavities and what organs are found in each cavity? We know all that. We're done with chapter 1. We'll be moving on to the test. Ha ha ha. Have fun. Goodbye.